What if I told you that on the coldest nights of the year, the sky can fill with glowing pillars of light, not from aliens or magic, but from something far more ordinary, transformed by the cold into something extraordinary? Imagine stepping outside on a bitterly cold winter night. The air is so crisp it stings your lungs. The world is silent, frozen. And then you look up, and the sky is filled with tall, shimmering columns of light, hovering above the ground like something out of a dream. They don't move, they don't flicker. They just hang there, glowing softly, as if the heavens have lowered their own pillars to touch the earth. For centuries, people who witnessed this phenomenon had no explanation. Some thought they were divine signs. Others whispered about portals or spirits. But the truth is even more fascinating, because these light pillars aren't coming from the sky at all. They're being built from the ground up by one of winter's quietest miracles. To understand how light pillars form, you first need to know what they're not. They're not auroras. They're not searchlights. They're not even made of light in the way you might think. They are, in fact, an illusion, a trick of physics and ice, playing with human perception. And they only appear under the most specific conditions. When the air is so cold it can barely hold moisture, and when countless tiny, flat ice crystals begin to float in the atmosphere, invisible to the naked eye. These crystals act like millions of microscopic mirrors, reflecting light from sources on the ground, streetlights, car headlights, even the windows of distant houses, and bending that light into vertical beams that seem to stretch infinitely upward. The colder it gets, the more perfect the crystals become and the brighter the pillars shine. So how does something so simple create something so magical? Let's break it down. First, the cold. We're talking about temperatures well below freezing, often -20, -30 degrees Celsius or colder. At these extremes, the moisture in the air doesn't form snowflakes. Instead, it freezes into what scientists call diamond dust, tiny, hexagonal ice crystals so fine they float like dust motes in the still night air. These crystals are flat, like miniature plates, and they orient themselves horizontally as they drift downward. Think of them as countless tiny mirrors, all floating parallel to the ground. Now add light. Any artificial light source, a lamp, a car, a distant town, sends rays upward. When those rays hit the floating ice mirrors, they reflect back toward your eyes. But because the crystals are spread through a deep layer of atmosphere, and each one reflects the light from a slightly different height, what you see isn't a single point of light. It's a vertical column, stacked reflection by reflection, all the way up. The effect is so convincing that your brain interprets it as a solid pillar of light, even though there's nothing actually there. It's like a mirage, but made of ice and imagination. But not all light pillars are the same. Their color depends entirely on the light source they're reflecting. Sodium vapor streetlights create golden yellow pillars. LED lights can produce stark white or pale blue ones. In cities, you might see multicolored pillars rising from neon signs or stadium lights. And sometimes, in extremely rare conditions, moonlight or even sunlight can create pillars, though these are much fainter, softer, almost ghostly in appearance. The size and brightness of the pillars also depend on the crystals themselves. The more perfect and flat they are, the clearer and taller the pillars become. If the crystals are tumbling or irregular, the pillars may appear fuzzy, broken, or faint. Wind can disrupt them. Slight warming can make them vanish in minutes. That's why witnessing a full display of light pillars feels like catching a secret, a fleeting collaboration between cold, calm, and human light. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Light pillars aren't just a winter novelty. They're part of a family of atmospheric phenomena called halos, which include sun dogs, moon rings, and circumzenithal arcs, all created by ice crystals bending light in different ways. What makes pillars unique is their dependency on human-made light. In a world without electricity, they would be virtually unseen. So in a way, light pillars are a kind of conversation between nature and civilization, the cold creating the canvas, and our lights providing the paint. They remind us that even in the deepest freeze, there is beauty to be found, not despite the cold, but because of it. For those who live in the far north, light pillars are a regular winter spectacle. In places like Finland, Canada, and Alaska, it's not uncommon to see the entire horizon lined with these glowing columns after sundown, as if the sky is being held up by luminous pillars. But you don't have to travel to the Arctic to see them. With the right conditions, extreme cold, clear air, and an open view toward artificial lights, they can appear almost anywhere winter bites hard. The key is patience and a willingness to brave the cold in search of something fleeting and sublime. Have you ever seen light pillars in person or captured them on camera? Share your experience in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. And if you want more mysteries of the natural world unlocked, subscribe to Nature Unlocked and never miss an exploration.